I don't think it's sunk in for a lot of people. A lot of people may not know this. We're living our day-to-day lives, but the stakes here are really huge. What we're seeing right now, for example, wildfires in California, what we saw in Australia, what we saw, even in our district here in New York 14, with Hurricane Ida and people drowning in their basement apartments, all of these things, like, this is just the beginning, guys. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but this is the science of it. What we are seeing right now is just the beginning. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And there is a certain amount of worse that is already locked in. The governments knew that climate change was real over 30 years ago. And we had a very important opportunity in the early 90s with the Kyoto Protocols and Conference, etc., to address this problem before it started. A lot of people don't know, about half of all emissions on Earth, climate change contributing emissions, about half of them have all been emitted since the first episode of Seinfeld premiered. So this is a very recent problem that has created global instabilities in, frankly, a course of 20 to 30 years. And so this is a huge problem that we're having. A lot of it has to do with emissions, and we have to draw them down. Not only draw them down, but we have to bring emissions to zero by 2050. So what do we do about that, right? Because if we do nothing, if we continue at the pace that we're at, which I do not believe is going to happen, I just want to set the record. But I want you to know that if the pace of emissions continues the way that it has been, we would reach up to 4 degrees Celsius of warming by 2100, and also by 2100. And these predictions are very hard to lock in because there's a lot of correlating and interlocking factors. But overall, what's been considered is that at 4 degrees Celsius, if we continue our trends and do not stop, for those folks that think that climate change is a hoax or that it's not real, we should do nothing about it, etc. By the year 2100, half of all land mass on Earth will be uninhabitable to human life. That means think of the Earth, think of the land, think of half of it and making it uninhabitable for human beings. Due to floods, due to heat, due to perpetual 24, we're talking about like worst case scenarios. It would be year-round Category 5 hurricanes, that there's no longer a hurricane season. It's just hurricanes at the risk of Cat 5s hitting all year round, wildfires hitting all year round, sea level rises, which probably stands to be one of the most catastrophic aspects of climate change for society. Like, these things are just going to be awful. So like, that's the bad news, right?